In 三字经 we say 子不教父之过, which means if the child is not cultivated or educated, it's the fault of the father.
I never wanted my parents to be my friends.
Right, so the children should respect the parents. Now, what about the parents respecting the children?
In America, children can call their parents by their names.
There wasn't much room for arguing with my parents. My father told me one day, I'll never forget, he says, I mentioned something to him, and he said, you can criticize me, but when you're in my shoes, you're going to make the same mistakes.
Blood is thicker than water.
Yeah. Hello there, welcome to CCTV Outlook English Talk Show. Today we'll talk about the relation between parents and their children, especially when they grow up. But first of all, please welcome my co-host, Mr. Paul Hansen, and his friends. Welcome. Please. Well, Mr. Paul Hansen, you are from America,
That's
teaching
right.
English in Beijing?
Beijing.
In
That's
Beijing.
right, yes.
And your friend?
This is my friend Zhang Li Hui. She is the Human Resources Director for a public relations firm, Hill & Knowlton, downtown, and is married to an American gentleman, and they have one child who's aged 9. 8. Way but she.
We get all
Want to get
Miss
the
Young's
facts
family
straight.
information.
Got to get it straight.
Not that old yet.
Not that old yet. That's it. And this is my friend Thomas McAleenan. He's from Scotland. He is also a foreign expert instructor at Beijing Foreign Studies University. And he is unmarried, so has a special perspective on this issue of parents and children.
Yeah. So talking about the relation between parents and children, I suppose we have different kind of relations in different cultures. I haven't been abroad. I haven't been living in foreign cultures. So what I know is just the Chinese culture. What I know is just how my parents treated me when I was young, and how our relationship is now with me. But I wonder, what about in the Scotland or in the United States? What kind of relation between parents and children when they were young, when their children are growing up? How parents treat the children? Is the question too general?
No, I don't think that's too general at all. I'm a bit older, and conditions have changed in the United States since I was young. When I was young, families were closer, and we visited my grandparents virtually every week. And now this is rarely done in the United States today. But how about Scotland, Thomas? What would you say goes on there?
Well, in my grandmother's generation, the bonds between the family were much closer. But it seems that since the Second World War, the state has taken so much of the role of looking after old people and looking after health care and education. So the ties are less. So if you want to go and see your grandparents, you can, but you don't have to. There's differences that in the past you were obliged, you had to, that kind of social sense. But now it's a kind of optional. Like children of my generation, I visit my grandparents if I want to, rather than because I have to. It's different.
So in China, we say the parents are the first teacher of the children. Do you have the same kind of idea?
Definitely.
We think that the parents are not only parents, they're teachers of their children. They have the responsibility of education. They have a strong responsibility of teaching the children how to behave, what is wrong, what is not right.
Well, as Thomas said, the state has taken a larger role and taken some of the things that were formerly done by families and put it in the public domain, but still we get our values from our family and from our parents when we're very young. We learn it at our parents' knees, right?
In China, we have a 三字经. Maybe some of you know that. In 三字经, we say 子不教父之过, which means if the child is not cultivated or educated, it's the fault of the father. Well, Miss Zhang, I suppose you was born in China.
Yes.
And now you're living in the Western culture. You're something in between, I suppose.
Yeah.
Could you share with us your stories about how important, what kind of a role your parents play in your growing up?
My father was army officer, so we grew up in a very traditional and well-disciplined family. We received very strict family education. Both my father and mother, they're quite tough.
Quite tough.
Yeah. So trained us in many ways, to be a responsible person, to be capable. Yeah.
Well, you're a very independent sort of person. Did you learn that in your family?
Exactly. Yeah. My parents taught us that way, especially my mother. I think a mother is a very important role in the family. I don't know audience here, but in my family, my mother, was the teacher. Yeah. She has her life philosophy. She told us when we were, a child, says you all have to face to the real world, to the real life. So I have two brothers, old brothers, so you have to be capable to face to the world, to your real life. So mother, father cannot live with you forever. So you have to deal with all the troubles by yourself.
Thomas, in your country, in Scotland, do you think that the parents you regard your parents as teachers, and the parents regard themselves as the first teachers of their children?
No, not teachers as in education, that's school, but moral teachers, yes.
Moral
teachers of values, teachers of right and wrong and good behavior and good conduct, yeah. But that's a different kind of teaching than sitting...
Classroom.
Yeah, teaching you maths or English or something, not that kind of teacher. But I wanted to ask you a question because you said that in your culture, if the parent or the children turn out badly, it's the father's fault. Now, in my knowledge of most kind of societies, the father is gone for most of the time working, right? He comes home and he opens a newspaper and he doesn't talk to anyone, he's that kind of dark figure in the corner. And basically the mothers of the world bring up the children. So why is it the father's fault?
The thing's like this, because this kind of thing came into being a long time ago, maybe 1,000 years ago. At that time, women were not educated. Women were staying at home doing only housework. So women, the mothers, did not know much about the world. And father went out to work, and maybe some of them got some education, and they are the master. They are the host of the family. They are responsible for everything in his house. And so, actually, that means if the children were not cultivated, it's the parents' fault. It's the parents' fault, not only the father, actually, but the words, word for word saying so. But in China, we have another saying is telling the relation between parents and children. It says, 君君臣臣父父子子, which means emperor is emperor, minister is minister, father is father, son is son. We got our position. We have a relation, and he is my father. He's only my father. He's not anything else to me. He's not my friend. He's not somebody I can talk everything to. Do you have something like this in Western culture? You have a very strict relation between parents and children.
Say the United States changes so much. It's a society that's based on the possibility of change. And these relationships have changed so much in my lifetime. When I was young, the old man came home, took out the newspaper, opened a beer, and that was all you saw for an hour or so. Later he would come out from behind the newspaper, "Hi, how you doing, Paul?" And now the father is expected to be a friend. Now not everybody in the States agrees with that. There are people who think the father should just be this fathers and the sons, and that's just the way it should be. But I think the cutting edge of change is more towards a more human relationship where there's sentiment and give and take.
I think there is a very strange thing that many of the Chinese people who know very little about the Western culture won't understand, is that in America, children can call their parents by their names.
They can also argue with them.
your son can call you a Paul.
My daughter calls
But that
me
never
Paul.
happens in China. That never happens in China.
My daughter doesn't call the father the name. They call daddy.
But some of them can. Is this something natural? Is father feel something uncomfortable if the son calling him just not daddy, not dad, not father, just by his first name?
Okay.
It's
I
okay.
think it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's also important that you can argue and discuss and make your opinion known to your parents. It's not the case that the parents will tell you, you know, what to do. It's a case that you have some ability to say, well, maybe I don't want to do that, or maybe I don't agree, or maybe this and the other. So it's not just the informality of the title, it's the whole power relationship is different.
Yeah.
That brings up that issue of 孝顺.
Yes.
孝顺.
孝顺.
We call it filial piety.
Filial
Yeah,
piety.
filial piety, yeah. I think that's different because in my family we generally dare to argue with my parents, you know.
Would not.
Would not. We don't disobey what they want us to do, you know, generally speaking. Yeah.
We take this as a respect to our parents. The parents are the authorities of the family, especially to the children. And if the children disobey the parents, if the children argue with the parents, that could be taken as a kind of a disrespect to the parents.
And 不孝顺.
不孝顺，对父母不恭敬。
No respect.
No respect.
Right.
This is not really moral in Chinese culture. And this could be in Western culture, in Scotland, in the United States.
May I ask, what if your parents are wrong?
Usually, we cannot see the parents' affairs. We don't know what they're doing. We are going to school every day, every morning, coming home late in the afternoon, and doing homework, having dinner, and go to bed. And you know, we had a very busy childhood, studying and doing a lot of after class activities. So parents, they have their own businesses. We don't really see whether they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. And when we say the right or wrong, it's just our business. They try to control us. They try to say, you're doing, this is not right for you to do. This is right for you to do. Then we don't think we have the knowledge, we have the sensitivity to judge actually which is right or wrong. Sometimes we tend to obey them because they have the experiences. We have a saying in China that they had more salt than the rice we have. Means they have a long experience of life. They know the world much better than we do. So we take this for granted that they know much better than we do. They have better ideas. That could be a problem, but probably it's changing. I don't have children, but probably it's changing in the next generation because China is open to the Western world. It's open to the outside world. We get more and more new information, new cultures in China. We are changing too. But for my generation, when I was young, when I was a kid, things went like that.
Okay, but if you turn the idea upside down, right, so the children should respect the parents. Now, what about the parents respecting the children? If they've spent 15 or 20 years trying to bring up a good child that's responsible, can look after itself, make its own decisions, then they're actually disrespecting, A, the children, and second, their own job.
Yeah, that's what we define the word respect. At that time, parents thought that they are not doing anything showing disrespect to the children. They are trying like making a sculpture. They are trying to make something out of the child. They are doing the good for the child. We have probably different ways of thinking about education. I think the purpose for every parent is good for the child. We don't want to harm the child. We don't want to fail the future of the children. We don't want to do the best. We want to make them the best of them, both in China and in the States or in Scotland. But we have different ways. We have a lot of different ways. We can't call my parents. I can't call my parents by their first name. That's our culture, and I can't even call people of my parents' generation by their names. We call them 阿姨, 叔叔, 大爷, 大婶儿. A lot of addressings to show respect. That's our culture. We can't call them 老张, 小李, or by their names. That's not right in China.
It doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right.
You
And
would
we
be
are used to
criticized.
that. We're used to that. When we start to learn English, we'll have a teacher of an elder generation. It's a hard time for us to call them. We don't say, Uncle Hanson? Well, that's awkward in English, doesn't it? And I call you Paul or Mr. Hanson. But in China, for a younger generation, we can call Zhang Xiansheng, who belongs to the elder generation. That's our culture, I suppose.
But I don't think we need to change that part, right? That culture, right? Change it to the Western culture, like you call Lao Zhang, right? I think this part we should keep.
Yeah. We have some audience here with us today. Many of them from China and some are from different parts of the world, from France, from the States. Would you share with us your stories? You must have some stories. All right.
I came from a large family. I had 4 brothers, 4 sisters. So there wasn't much room for arguing with my parents. My father told me one day, I'll never forget, he says, I mentioned something to him, and he said, you can criticize me, but when you're in my shoes, you're going to make the same mistakes. And you know what?
That's it.
It doesn't matter how much experience I have and how much education I have. In some ways, he's right.
Yeah.
So I think it was very interesting. I had just a father-son relationship, not a friend relationship with my father.
Thank you. Sure. Thank you. So, Miss, what about situations in France?
Okay, so first I'd like to tell something about my parents. I never wanted my parents to be my friends.
You never want?
No, I don't want them to be my friends. I can have friends outside of there. But, I mean, you can choose them. You can tell them everything you want. But then to your parents, you have a secret garden. You have things you don't tell them. I mean, and you need to have this distance with your parents. For me, when I was a kid, my father was very, very strong as well. And he was just like God for me. I mean, he was coming back home and watching TV and these kind of things. We would never talk to him. I never called him his name, never. And I think it's very good.
It's very good.
Yeah, it's very good. Then when I became a teenager, I started thinking my father was making mistakes. I realized sometimes maybe he was making mistakes. And I started seeing him another way. But I think I could then talk to him and discuss about this. And then he started seeing me as a teenager and then an adult. But then in China, here, I think Chinese young people, they see their parents are making mistakes. They know it sometimes. But they have no way to talk about this. So I think that's the problem in China. And then I see lots of Chinese people in their 30s. Sometimes they marry, they have children as well. But then when they see their parents, like when my husband, he's Chinese, he goes home and we meet his parents. It's just like a kid. He doesn't have any right to talk and to criticize and nothing. So I think that's a mistake.
We say it's like a lamb seeing a tiger.
Okay, but
sorry for that.
can I say something about this, which is I think actually that you're wrong, because
We got a critic here.
when I go back and see my parents now, I see that they are me and I am them. Right? I've got parts from my father, personality, looks, mannerisms, things, thoughts, ideas, dreams, some parts from my mother. So they are really your best friends because you're created from them, you're a creation of them. So it's nice when you're older, when you have some distance from all the childhood stuff, and you go back, and I feel that they can really be friends because they are me. You know, I can see myself in them, and they can see themselves in me, and there's something quite strange there.
From what some people have just said, we can see that there are many similarities in the families from different cultural background, and normally people tend to make generalizations that the Chinese family are more, the relationship in the Chinese family is closer, or people show more respect to the parents, or it's less liberal. But in fact, especially nowadays, it might not be the case, or it might not be true. Talking about the other issue, that is how children address his parents. I think it's just because, it's not a big deal. It's just because of cultural background. You know, for the Western countries, the parents pick a Christian name or a Jewish name for the children. The names are already there. It's just a name, like Paul, like Thomas. when you call them, it's just a name. You don't feel bad. But in China, the parents will find a name for the children, which is, we don't have special words for names. So a Chinese name is chosen by the parents and given to the children.
You can use any character
that's
as
right.
a name.
So the name itself bears more meanings to the children. And traditionally, the name of a person can only be called by the parents or the superior. And Chinese people even have another name, which to be addressed by people from his own generation or lower generation. So that is only cultural background, difference of cultural background. For me, I've never called my parents by their names, but I do have a very liberal family.
Thank you. I suppose before we were doing this show, I understood that in Western culture, parents only paid attention to the independence of the children, the rights of the children, and they, by the way of calling each other by their names, we can see that they are treating each other as person to person, not a kind of relation, father to son, son to father, daughter to mother, things like that. But in China, we pay a lot of attention to the family ties. We pay a lot of attention to the relation between the two guys. Oh, this is my father. This is not anybody else. My father. I'm his son in this house. If I step out of this house, other people could be my friends, colleagues, and my enemies. But this guy in this house is my father. That's a kind of a relationship. All right? We were calling them by father or mother. That's a relationship. But today I see that, as Paul just said, traditionally in the Western culture, you also pay attention to the family ties. That's true.
Absolutely.
And the world is changing. Maybe the United States changed faster because of it's an immigration country. A lot of culture were melted together.
You know, we have a saying, blood is thicker than water.
Yeah. We have the saying, too, in Chinese. We say, 血浓于水. And China is changing, too, nowadays. And we are opening to the outside world. We are absorbing a lot of foreign cultures, elements into our culture. And maybe that's why today some children some families have different kind of relationships. They're trying to build up kind of a friend relationship. That's what my mother told me the other years after my father passed away. And she told me, we treated you so, as you said, tough when you were young. And I try to build a relationship like friends with you because you bring something new to the home. I mean, new ideas and something I don't understand. And we want to really build a kind of equal relationship like friends. We can share ideas. I'm not a kind of authority in the house because I'm not capable of that. You've grown up and you have your own ideas. You have your own brains. So probably with the changing of the world and the Chinese culture and the Western culture, I mean the family culture are getting similar to each other, closer to closer. And we can get some better elements from each other. We can learn from each other.
Well, I'm trying that in my family, my own family.
You're doing that now?
Yeah, I'm doing that. My mother has been living with us this few years. So it's not, your mother tries to do that, right? Like be a friend with you. But right now I'm trying to be a friend with my mother. You know, I'm grew up, right, already, adult right now, got quite a bit of experience. So I try to talk to my mother the way, like she's my friend, you know. And as I said, my mom was tough to us, right? Very strict family education. So now I tell her, take it easy, okay? You don't have to be so tough anymore because we already, you know, well educated, got a good job, right? So you take it easy. I give you the money. You just enjoy your life. Stay with us. Be happy, right? Right now, I said before, I dare to argue with my mother, you know, but we hardly can disobey what she wants us to do. But right now, I don't want to say argue, you know, but I try to convince her what I want to do, my idea. Or if I see something wrong, some wrong idea from my mother's side, you know, I will try to tell her, you may want to try other way, and your life will be, you know, you'll feel happier, you know. So I do that, and it is received quite well from my mother.
But maybe somebody would say no to us. It doesn't matter. Probably depends on different families.
You can try.
We don't have to build a friend relationship
But I want
among
to.
parents. If you want to, do it. If I want to, I do it. You know why? Because I just thought that in Chinese, in Western country, when you are surprised, when you are frightened, you say, my God. You are depending on your God. But in Chinese, you say, Maya. I'm depending on my mother.
Yes.
If everybody, my father and my mother are just my friends, I got nobody to depend on.
Yes, I have a couple of hard times. My mom would say to me, what? 你教训我啊? Like that. 教训.
And you're trying to teach me?
I said, no, mother, not I'm trying to 教训你.
Even among friends, we have to have a tactical way to communicate.
That's right.
We can't kind of teach some kind of giving a lesson to somebody else. So anyway, no matter what, we wish every family a happy family. We want every parents and children who can have a better, good, happy relationship. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And maybe we can show you some Western cultures things about family, and maybe for the Western people you can see some Chinese family culture. But anyway, we wish every family a happy family. Your family, your family, and your family, and all your families. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. And thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you others for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye. Thank you very much. Thanks.